Hello, and welcome to another T-Studio demo. This video is going to show you how to create a perspective guide for when you have to draw something in two-point perspective and your vanishing points are off the page. The tools are simple. All you need is paper, red and graphite pencils, an eraser, and some sort of straight edge and a triangle. For this first drawing, I'm going to start by locating a horizon line on my page. Remember that this is also your eye level line, and I make sure to mark it HL. The challenge with making a perspective drawing is that sometimes when you want to locate some vanishing points, but say your paper isn't big enough to get them drawn, instead of moving up to a larger sheet of paper, you can use the Brewer method to create a guide to help locate your orthogonal lines. And remember, those orthogonal lines are the lines that represent depth in a perspective drawing, and parallel orthogonals converge to the same vanishing point. So using my triangle, I will draw a vertical transversal line somewhere near the middle. Determining where to put this is really based on the drawing that you want to do. So I would probably have used a thumbnail sketch of my idea to help me. I use a ruler to mark off a series of points along that line at regular intervals. I'm just using inches here. Next, I want two more vertical transversal lines, and I'll draw one on the left side and one on the right side of my paper, and I'm going to put them close to the edge. We want to create a perspective guide to help us to do our drawing with vanishing points off our paper, and so our task is going to be to create lines that start at the points on our central line here and have them converge. So first, I'm going to take my ruler and find an angle that will suit my idea, and I'm using the topmost point to start. In my drawing, I have 4 points above the horizon line on my central transversal. Remember that my orthogonal guidelines will need to converge as they move back, so I will divide the space between the horizon line and the top orthogonal into the same number of units on the left, which is 4, as I do in that center. And I can eyeball this by just dividing that length by 2 and then dividing those lengths again. Then I connect my points. Now I can use my eyeball measuring and continue down the side of the paper, locating more points below the horizon line, and finish off the left side by connecting all points in order. Now make sure that you're careful with this and don't skip any by accident. Now, all I have to do is follow the same technique on the right side by again finding an angle that fits my creative idea and locating points along the right side and connecting them to my center line points. I've chosen a really steep angle, which means that that vanishing point is quite close to the edge of the paper compared to the vanishing point on the left side. I again divide up that space and make connections. I noticed that these points were about 1/4 of an inch apart, and so that helped me. I just went ahead and used my ruler and marked out every 1/4 of an inch down the page on that right side. And now, to finish my guide, I just need to connect all these points. this drawing is just a guide, and so it's going to help me to make another perspective drawing. So I'm just going to place a sheet of tracing paper over the top, tape it down, and draw my objects on the tracing paper. One of the great things is we don't really need to lock our drawing onto these guidelines that we've made. We just use them to help us direct our orthogonal lines towards the vanishing point, which happens to be off the paper. So if my line happens to fall between two grid lines, I just need to angle my straight edge towards the correct vanishing point. And I'm just going to draw a simple rectangular box to start with. You can see how having a transparent triangle or straight edge is really useful at this point, because I can see guidelines above and below where I'm going to locate a line, and that just helps me be more accurate. So let's try this process again. But this time, I'm going to move my horizon line and vanishing points off the paper. So I will make the horizon line way up above the sheet of paper, so no HL to start. I will mark 3 vertical lines. The center is given regularly spaced points, just like in the last drawing. To help you do your drawings, you might want more orthogonals. So in this one, I'm going to space my points about every ½ inch instead of every inch. All right, since my horizon line is above my sheet of paper, I know that all the orthogonals will be directed up. And so to find my vanishing points, I'm going to start at the bottom and find an angle that works for my creative idea. Then I will draw a second line that looks like it converges with the first line. Now remember, these lines originate from the points that I located on that center line. And remember that the space above this line is larger in the center and smaller to the left, denoting convergence. To make it easier on myself, I'm going to use a sheet of paper to mark my new measurement on this left side. and then repeat that measurement all the way up till the top of the paper. Now all that's left is to connect the dots. I want to make sure that my guide is super helpful, so I'm going to take these orthogonal lines all the way to the top of the paper. Now I just need to follow the same procedure on this right side, figuring out first the angle towards the vanishing point, whether it's steep or shallow, and that's all based on my creative idea. Then I will locate points on that far right side, connect them to that center line, and I'll be done. So once I've finished drawing that guide, I just take a sheet of tracing paper, lay it over the top, and begin my perspective drawing. Make sure that as you work, that you direct your orthogonals to the correct side. Because you don't have vanishing points actually drawn, you will use again those guidelines to direct the lines to the appropriate place. I hope you found this video useful, and thanks for watching. Happy drawing.